Welcome to the video tutorials for FlowMattic. Today, we will see how to set custom response for your webhooks. Let's start by creating a new workflow. Let's choose the Trigger app for our workflow. Trigger is where the workflow execution starts. We will use the webhooks by FlowMattic. You will see the webhook URL is generated. We need to use this webhook URL to send data from our app. Just click on the URL to copy it. Now, click on the Capture Webhook Data button and wait for it to initialize. Once the request is initialized, let's send some test data to Webhook. I will use this API testing tool to send some test data to the webhook. Paste the webhook URL to the URL field. Let's add some data, such as name and email that we want to send to our webhook. That's it. Once I click the Send button, this data will be sent to our webhook URL, and we will be able to see it in our workflow, under Webhook Response. Let's send this data and see what we get here in response from the webhook. The response we get here can be customized as per our requirement, using the Webhook Response module in FlowMattic. Let's get back to our workflow, and see if we have received the data in the webhook response. And, yes, as you can see, the data is now captured in the webhook. Now, let's add some actions to gather more data that we want to send back to our webhook response. Let's add an action step, and choose API by FlowMattic as an application. API module has various action events. We need to use the GET method for this API. For demonstration purpose, I will use API from zenquotes.io website, as it is public API. Provide the API details, such as the API endpoint URL, API authentication, etc. For this API, we don't need authentication, so I will skip it. Once we confirm that everything is alright, let's save and test this action step. This will send a live test request to zenquotes.io API, and return the data in response. Once the data is received, we can map this in the next action steps. Let's assume you want to return this API response as webhook response, with some modified values. For that, we need to use the webhook response module, just after the API action step. Let's add the webhook response action step. You can send a response in 3 different ways. First, as a string, second, as a JSON, where you can set the parameters as key and value pairs, and third, as custom JSON data. You can choose the response type as per your requirements. I will use the second option, as JSON, and configure the parameters. After configuring the parameters for response, do a save and test action once. This will show you the data being sent as a response to your webhook. Once everything is done, we need to publish and save this workflow. Now, let's get back to our API testing tool, and send some test data to the webhook URL. You can see the webhook response we received earlier. Now, since we have configured the custom response, we should get the different response data each time we send data to the webhook. Let's check how it works. As you can see, the response we get from webhook is completely different every time we send data. So, that means we just used FlowMattic to create our own API to get custom quotes. Isn't this amazing? Thanks for watching. Please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out our website, flowmattic.com. See you soon with the next tutorial.